Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the entrance of Council-elect and remain standing for the reading of the Thanksgiving Address, Proclamation, and the singing of the National Anthem. Thank you. I would like to call upon Amos Key Jr. for the Thanksgiving Address.
Just stand back up here at the podium.
Oh, at the podium. I hate putting my back to the council. Greetings, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am here as a citizen of the Six Nations of the Grand River. I live down a street on Mohawk. I'm a Mohawk, the last remaining Mohawks that live in the city of Brantford that was formerly the Mohawk Village before it was named Brant's Ford. So I'm the last person here. But hopefully there'll be more coming to that area. I'd just like to give my blessings and thank all of my people as we're so close to start the beginning of our land claims litigation with the federal government. Starting in January, they're telling us. And hopefully, I got my pockets ready. It's going to be in excess of $1 billion or more. So that's for lost income from 6 miles on each side of the Grand River. So we're all neighbors here. It cut me off. So as I was asked to present from my civilization, the Haudenosaunee, who came here to Grand River in 1784, 6 miles on each side of the Grand River from its mouth to its source, which is Dunnville to just north of Fergus, Ontario. 955,000 acres. 955,000 acres. We have a fifth of that left where we are now. So you can see why it's important to settle this land claim once and for all. If we're talking about truth and reconciliation, that's part of the truths. So we'll talk about that in the next months or so, and you'll learn about it, I'm sure, as we move forward. And I just want to say congratulations to the new city council. I hate holding my back to them, but anyway, I really want to thank them, being neighbors of Grand River Six Nations. So I was asked to open the swearing in tonight with the Thanksgiving address of my people. And this is one that we recite every time we meet in business or any kind of business that we do. And it's a blessing from the Creator. Our Genesis speaks of our people being the star people, that came from the heavens. And the Creator put us here on earth with all mankind. And with that, we have this Thanksgiving address in which we give thanks to the Creator and all his bounty and his gifts. The first part speaks I'll translate in English first, about our hearts and our minds being here together as one, as a people, as human beings. And then we thank all of the bounty of Mother Earth. We revere the earth as our mother. Is how we say it in our language. And we thank her for all of that, for bringing us all here and giving us a place to stand. So we give her thanks for that as well. And then we thank all of the celestial beings, all of the elements that keep us alive, the water, the air we breathe, the heat from the sun, and the moon. We call her our grandmother. She brings forth all of our babies. So we thank her for that as well. And then we have a metaphor in our language in which we talk about our psychology, and we give thanks to these four beings that help us with our consciousness. So we always like to remember them as well. And then we also give thanks for a Seneca chief, Skanadayo was his name, from New York State. 400 years ago, he left us a code, a moral code, which gives us our emotional intelligence and how we're going to live with our younger brothers in our homes. And then we give thanks to the Creator himself for bringing all of our hearts together. And so this council will lead with one voice. We give thanks to the Creator for the City Council and all of their intellect and letting their names stand to represent the city of Brantford. So we thank the Creator for that as well. And I'll say this all in my language. The Cugo language, we came from the Cugo Lake area of New York State in 1784. And now we're here at Grand River, your neighbors. So with that, I'll open the swearing in with the Thanksgiving address. Brantford City Council, the mayor and all his council. Always at scan out to Antonio. Need way he has God and why and what Nicoha. Scott that what the honyo and again your tongue and what Nicoha. And down and what choice when's a date to know how they turn Hong Kong. Nico to a seni ha. Did he greater than honyo? Need again your tongue and what Nicoha so. And down and what choice doing how the touch snake as a now how I don't hate. Did he greater than honyo? Need again your tongue and what Nicoha so. And down and draw true again with doggy hato here, Kyono, Nadia Hitung is Nanto Wednesday. Yet quick and ditty no on your gain with doggy hato here, Kyono, Dioki and your don, it again your tongue, and what you go on so. And down and draw true is to go on your scania dio, or her one at heart was out, the scanner he went short in Yungi. Did he greater than Honyo, say to go on your scania dio, you get your tongue, and what you go on so. And down and water honky tanagra sanguaya diesel. Nate sons so sent don't scanner I do not know. Nate hink breaking the dun honyo. Conhe de hanagra sanguaya diesel. You again your tongue on what you go home. Then down it twenty god greeny. Eat gay hut gaya can't tuck on the honyo. Down it. So thank you very much and congratulations. Now we say in our language. Thank you very much.
At this time, I would like to call upon David McKee, City of Brantford Town Crier, for the proclamation. Oh, yes! Oh, yes! Oh, yes!
Be it known to all in singular that on this 15th day of November 2022, in accordance with democratic rights guaranteed under Canadian law, Mayor and Council, duly elected by the honorable citizens of Brantford on the 24th day of October 2022, have assembled in these chambers to be sworn in by the Honorable Justice David A. Broad for the next 4-year session of civic government. Know ye that the following will constitute your city council for the years 2022 to 2026. His Worship, Mayor Kevin Davis, Councillor Brian Van Tilborg, Councillor Mandy Samuel, Councillor Richard Carpenter, Councillor Linda Hunt, Councillor Dan McCreary, Councillor Greg Martin, Councillor Gino Caputo, Councillor John Sless, Councillor Rose Sicoli, Councillor Michael Sullivan. Your City Deputy Clerk is Chris Gauthier. Your Chief Administrative Officer is Brian Hutchings. May the decisions of this body be wisely made for the present and future good of Brantford. God bless Brantford. Industria et perseverantia. God save the King.
Thank you. I would like to call upon Jennifer Page for the singing of the national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us commend. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. At this point, I would like to ask the Honorable Justice David A. Broad to come forward to administer the declaration of office to members of the new council. I would like to call upon Mayor-elect Kevin Davis and any members of his family who would like to join him down to the front.
Your Worship, Mr. Mayor, repeat after me. I, Kevin Davis,
I, Kevin Davis,
having been elected or appointed to the office of mayor
having been elected or appointed to the office of mayor
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
do solemnly promise and declare that,
do solemnly promise and declare that,
1, I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office
I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise the duties of this office
to the best of my ability and knowledge.
to the best of my ability and knowledge.
2nd, I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward
I have not received any payment or reward
or promise thereof
or promise thereof
for the exercise of this office
for the exercise of this office
in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner.
in a biased, corrupt, or inappropriate manner.
3, I will disclose any pecuniary interest
or indirect
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
And 4, I will be faithful
I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bid true allegiance
to His Majesty King Charles III.
to His Majesty King Charles III.
And I make this solemn promise
And I make this solemn promise
and declaration,
and declaration,
conscientiously believing it to be true
conscientiously believing it to be true,
and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath.
and knowing it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath.
If you would sign there, sir.
Thank you. So now have my grandson, Austin, who will bring the chain of office over to Mr. Justice Broad to have the chain.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you. So the other part of the swearing in will be the placement of a pin, a City of Brantford council member's pin, which I will do with each member of council, but for me, my wife Lisa will do that.
Next, call upon Councillor Brian Van Tilburg. Repeat after me. I, Brian Van Tilburg,
I, Brian Van Tilburg,
having been elected or appointed
having been elected or appointed
to the office of Councillor Ward 5
to the office of Councillor Ward 5
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
do solemnly promise and declare,
do solemnly promise and declare,
1, I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office
1, I will truly, faithfully exercise this office
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
2, I have not received
2, I have not received
and will not receive any payment or reward
and will not receive any payment or reward
or promise thereof
or promise thereof
for the exercise of this office
for the exercise of this office
in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner.
in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner.
3, I will disclose
I will disclose
any pecuniary interest,
any pecuniary interest,
direct or indirect,
direct or indirect,
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
And 4, I will be faithful
I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to His Majesty King Charles III.
to His Majesty King Charles III.
And I make this solemn promise
And I make this solemn promise
and declaration,
and declaration,
conscientiously believing it to be true
conscientiously believing it to be true,
and knowing that it is of the same force and effect
and knowing it is of the same force and effect
as if made under oath.
as if made under oath.
If you would sign there, sir.
Run down.
Congratulations,
Thank
sir.
you. All right.
There's a kid.
Councillor Mandy Samwell. Repeat after me. I, Mandy Samwell,
I, Mandy Samwell,
having been elected or appointed
having been elected or appointed
to the office of Councillor, Ward 5,
to the office of Councillor, Ward 5,
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
do solemnly promise and declare
do solemnly promise and declare
that one, I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
that one, I will truthfully, faithfully,
and
and
impartially exercise this office
exercise this office
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
Two, I have not received
I have not received
and will not receive
and will not receive
any payment or reward
any payment or reward
or promise thereof
or promise thereof
for the exercise of this office
for the exercise of this office
in a biased,
in a biased,
corrupt,
corrupt,
or any improper manner.
or any improper manner.
Third, I will disclose any pecuniary interest,
I will disclose any pecuniary interests,
direct or indirect,
direct or indirect,
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
in accordance to the Municipal
Conflict of
Conflict
Interest
of
Act.
Interest Act.
And four, I will be faithful
I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to His Majesty King Charles III.
to His Majesty King Charles III.
And I make this solemn promise
And I make this solemn promise
and declaration,
and declaration,
conscientiously believing it to be true,
conscientiously believing it to be true,
and knowing that it is of the same force and effect
and knowing that it is the same force and effect
as if made under oath.
as if made under oath.
If you would sign right there, man.
I would like to call the family of Mandy Samuel to join her if they'd like for pictures.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're so bad at this. Thank you. Oh, and over there's.
Calling forward Councillor Richard Carpenter. I think from now on, I'll read along with, so you can read it in on the page as well.
Sure, I didn't bring my glasses.
But that's
Okay,
fine.
we'll do it.
Repeat after me, sir. I, Richard Carpenter,
I, Richard Carpenter,
having been elected or appointed
having been elected or appointed
to the office of Councillor, Ward 4,
to the office of Councillor, Ward 4,
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
do solemnly promise and declare
do solemnly promise and declare
that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
exercise this office
exercise this office
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
Second, I have not received
I have not received
and will not receive any payment or reward
any payment or reward
or promise thereof
or promise thereof
for the exercise of this office
for the exercise of this office
in a biased, corrupt, or any improper
in a
manner.
biased or corrupt or any improper manner.
Thirdly, I will disclose any pecuniary interest,
I will disclose any pecuniary interests,
direct or indirect,
direct or indirect,
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
And fourth, I will be faithful
I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to His Majesty King Charles III.
to His Majesty King Charles III.
And I make this solemn declaration,
And I make this solemn declaration,
promise and declaration,
promise and declaration,
conscientiously believing it to be true,
conscientiously believing it to be true,
and knowing that it is of the same force and effect
knowing it is the same force and effect
as if made under oath.
as if made under oath.
If you would sign there, sir.
Thank you.
I would like to invite any members of the counselor's family to join them, please.
One day. When he sided.
Yeah.
Take it on this side. This way here.
This way.
We're a family.
Thank you.
I could call forward Counselor Linda Hunt.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Hello. Repeat after me. I, Linda Hunt,
I, Linda Hunt,
having been elected or appointed
having been elected or appointed
to the office of Councillor Ward 4
to the office of Councillor Ward 4
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
do solemnly promise and declare that
do solemnly promise and declare that
1, I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
exercise this office
exercise this office
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
2nd, I have not received
I have not received
and will not receive
and will not receive
any payment or reward
any payment or reward
or promise thereof
or promise thereof
for the exercise of this office
for the exercise of this office
in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner.
in a biased, corrupt, or improper manner.
3rdly, I will disclose any pecuniary interest,
I will disclose any pecuniary interest,
direct or indirect,
direct or indirect,
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
And 4th, I will be faithful
I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to His Majesty King Charles III.
to His Majesty King Charles III.
And I make this solemn promise and declaration,
And I make this solemn promise and declaration,
conscientiously believing it to be true
conscientiously believing it to be true
and knowing
and knowing
that it is of the same force and effect
that it is of the same force and effect
as if made under oath.
as if made under oath.
You would sign there, ma'am. Right there. Thank you.
I would like to invite any members of the counselor's family to join them in the front, please.
Oh, jeez. I thought I was getting moved.
Thank
you.
Call forward Councillor Dan McCreary. You do, sir. Would you repeat after me? I, Dan McCreary,
I, Dan McCreary, having been elected to the office of Councillor Ward 3 in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
you're not repeating. Do solemnly promise and declare that.
do solemnly promise and declare that
First, I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
exercise this office
exercise this office
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
Second, I have not received
I have not received
and will not receive
and will not receive
any payment or reward
any payment or reward
or promise thereof
or promise thereof
for the exercise of this office
for the exercise of this office
in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner.
in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner.
Third, I will disclose any pecuniary interest,
I will disclose any pecuniary interest,
direct or indirect,
direct or indirect,
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
And fourth, I will be faithful
I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to His Majesty King Charles III.
to His Majesty King Charles III.
And I make this solemn promise
And I make this solemn promise
and declaration,
and declaration,
conscientiously believing it to be true,
conscientiously believing it to be true,
and knowing that it is of the same force and effect
and knowing that it is of the same force and effect
as if made under oath.
as if made under oath.
I could ask you to sign right there, sir.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I would like to invite any members of the councillor's family to please join them in the front.
First, you idiot. No.
And over here. Oh, and over here. I'll pick one first. Whoever works for it. There you go. Dan. Yes, sir. You've used that before, right? Yeah. Bunch of. Yeah. All right. I'll see you later. Excuse me.
Very close.
I could call forward Councillor Greg Martin. How do you do, sir? If you would repeat after me. I, Greg Martin,
I, Greg Martin,
having been elected or appointed
having been elected
to the office of Councillor Ward 3
to the office of Councillor of Ward 3
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
do solemnly promise and declare
do solemnly promise and declare
that one, I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
exercise this office
exercise this office
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
Second, I have not received
I have not received
and will not receive
and will not receive
any payment or reward
any payment or reward
or promise thereof
or promise thereof
for the exercise of this office
for the exercise of this office
in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner.
in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner.
Third, I will disclose any pecuniary interest,
I will disclose any pecuniary interest,
direct or indirect,
direct or indirect,
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
And fourth, I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to His Majesty King Charles III.
to His Majesty King Charles III.
And I make this solemn promise and declaration
And I make this solemn declaration,
conscientiously believing it to be true,
conscientiously believing it to be true,
and knowing that it is of the same force and effect
and knowing that it is of the same force and effect
as if made under oath.
as if made under oath.
Sign there, sir. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
At this moment, I would like to invite any members of the councillor family to come join him, please.
Start over here.
Councillor John Sless. How do you do, sir? Councillor Sless, if you would repeat after me. I, John Sless,
I, John Sless,
having been elected or appointed
having been elected or appointed
to the office of Councillor Ward 2
to the office of Councillor in Ward 2
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
do solemnly promise and declare that
do solemnly promise and declare that
1, I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
exercise this office
exercise this office
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
Second, I have not received and will not receive
I have not received and will not receive
any payment or reward
any payment or reward
or promise thereof
or promise thereof
for the exercise of this office
for the exercise of this office
in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner.
in a biased, corrupt, or in any improper manner.
Third, I will disclose any pecuniary interest,
I will disclose any pecuniary interest,
direct or indirect,
direct or indirect,
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
in the interest of the Municipal Conflict of Information Act.
Fourth, and I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to His Majesty King Charles III.
to His Majesty King Charles III.
And I make this solemn promise and declaration,
And I make this solemn promise and declaration,
conscientiously believing it to be true,
conscientiously believing it to be true,
and knowing that it is of the same force and effect
and knowing that it is of the same force and effect
as if made under oath.
as if made under oath.
Sign right there, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you. Councillor Sless would like to note that his wife is watching a live video feed in a separate room within this building.
Counselor Gino Caputo. How do you do, sir? Repeat after me. I, Gino Caputo,
I, Gino Caputo,
having been elected or appointed
having been elected or appointed
to the office of Councillor Ward 2
to the office of Councillor of Ward 2
in the municipality of Brantford,
in
Ontario,
the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
do solemnly promise and declare that
do solemnly promise and declare that
1, I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
exercise this office
exercise this office
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
Second, I have not received and will not receive
I have not received and will not receive
any payment or reward
any payment or reward
or promise thereof
or promise thereof
for the exercise of this office
for the exercise of this office
in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner.
in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner.
Third, I will disclose any pecuniary interest,
I will disclose any pecuniary interest,
direct or indirect,
direct or indirect,
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
And fourth, I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to His Majesty King Charles III.
to His Majesty King Charles III.
And I make this solemn promise and declaration,
And I make this solemn promise and declaration,
conscientiously believing it to be true,
conscientiously believing it to be true,
and knowing that it is of the same force and effect
and knowing that it is of the same force and effect
as if made under oath.
as if made under oath.
If you would sign that, sir. Congratulations, sir.
At this time, I would like to invite any members of the councilor's family to please join them in the front.
Councillor Michael Sullivan. Thank you, sir. Would you repeat after me? I, Michael Sullivan,
I, Michael Sullivan,
having been elected or appointed
having been elected or appointed
to the office of Councillor Ward 1
of the office of a council for Ward 1
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
do solemnly promise and declare that
and do solemnly promise and declare that
1, I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
exercise this office
to
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
the best of my knowledge and ability.
Second, I have not received and will not receive
I have not received and will not receive
any payment or reward
any payment or reward
or promise thereof
or promise thereof
for the exercise of this office
for the exercise of this office
in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner.
in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner.
Third, I will disclose any pecuniary interest,
I will disclose any pecuniary interest,
direct or indirect,
in
accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
Fourth, and I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
And I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to His Majesty King Charles III.
to His Majesty King Charles III.
And I make this solemn promise and declaration,
And I make this solemn promise and declaration,
conscientiously believing it to be true,
conscientiously believing it to be true,
and knowing that it is of the same force and effect
and knowing that it is of the same force and effect
as if made under oath.
as if made under oath.
You would sign right there, sir. Congratulations.
I would like to invite any members of the counselor's family to please join them in the front.
Councillor Rose Sicoli.
Last but not least.
How do you do? Please repeat after me. I, Rose Sicoli,
I, Rose Sicoli,
having been elected or appointed
having been elected or appointed
to the office of Councillor Ward 1
to the office of Councillor Ward 1
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
in the municipality of Brantford, Ontario,
do solemnly promise and declare that
do solemnly promise and declare that
1, I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
I will truly, faithfully, and impartially
exercise this office
exercise this office
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
Second, I have not received and will not receive
I have not received and will not receive
any payment or reward
any payment or reward
or promise thereof
or promise thereof
for the exercise of this office
for the exercise of this office
in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner.
in a biased, corrupt, or any improper manner.
I will disclose any pecuniary interest,
I will disclose any pecuniary interest,
direct or indirect,
direct or indirect,
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
And fourth, I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to His Majesty King Charles III.
to His Majesty King Charles III.
And I make this solemn promise and declaration,
And I make this solemn promise and declaration,
conscientiously believing it to be true,
conscientiously believing it to be true,
and knowing that it is of the same force and effect
and knowing that it is of the same force and effect
as if made under oath.
as if made under oath.
Sign right there, man. Thank you. Congratulations.
At this point in time, I would like to invite any members of the counselor's family to please join them in the front.
Small portion of my family.
Here you go.
Over here. Over here. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Justice David A. Broad. Now, it is my distinct honor and privilege to call the first roll for council of the Corporation of the City of Brantford for the 2022 to 2026 term of office. Councillor Van Tilburg. Present. Councillor Carpenter. Here. Councillor McCreary.
Here.
Councillor Sless.
Present.
Councillor Sullivan.
Here.
Councillor Samwell.
Here.
Councillor Hunt.
Here.
Councillor Martin.
Here.
Councillor Caputo.
Present.
Councillor Sicoli.
To honor former Councillor Wall, here and present.
And Mayor Davis.
Present. So I now would ask members of council if you would please turn to the back of the program for the Athenian Pledge. And if you would please stand as you're able as we read together the Athenian Pledge. I'll start it. We, the members of the Municipal Council of the City of Brantford, do solemnly declare
that
we will never bring disgrace to our city by any act of dishonesty or cowardice, or ever desert our comrades. We will fight for the ideals and sacred things of the city, both alone and with many. We will revere and obey the city laws, and do our best to incite a like respect and reverence in others. We will strive unceasingly to quicken the public sense of civic duty, and thus in all these ways transmit our city more greater, better, and more beautiful than it was transmitted to us. Please be seated. So we now have officially installed the 2022-2026 Council of the City of Brantford. It's at this time that the mayor gives an inaugural address, and I'm not going to pass that opportunity by. In fact, I have an inaugural address that I would like to provide tonight. No surprise. So settle in. I hope this will have something in it for everyone. So good evening and welcome to the inaugural meeting of the 2022-2026 Brantford City Council. I also want to welcome you to the first City Council inaugural meeting in our wonderful new City Hall. The fact we're meeting here tonight and in person is one sign of how much has changed in the last 4 years. During the last term of council, our number one job was keeping the city safe as we dealt with the COVID pandemic. The pandemic took a heavy toll on individuals, families, the healthcare system, businesses, and the community as a whole. I'm proud of city staff for the way they rallied to the challenge. No matter what was put in front of them, their first thought was, how do we make this work? Our city administration became more focused and adaptable as staff worked together between themselves and departments and other organizations to meet common objectives. They readily created innovative solutions to problems that, in a way that might not have been considered in prior times. I'm sure we can maintain that same spirit and nimbleness as we address both council and city staff new and emerging issues. Despite the challenges thrown at us by the pandemic, we made progress on a number of issues, such as from homelessness to traffic and from climate change to healthcare. That's a tribute to the dedication of the members of this council and city employees. During the last 4 years, we laid the foundation for a city that will be safer, healthier, greener, and more prosperous. I'm going to talk about some of those challenges that the city will face during this term of council. But before I do that, I'd like to say a few thank yous. On behalf of myself and all members of council, I want to say thank you to our family members and their friends for their support. Being on council is a very demanding job, and none of us would be 100% effective without the help of those closest to us. In particular, I would like to thank my wife, Lisa, my daughters, Brittany and Melanie, and my daughter, Kate, who is not here, lives in the Yukon, and of course, one of my 6 grandchildren who is here tonight, Austin. And it just goes to say how much the love and support of your family members means to you. I'd also like to acknowledge a very dedicated group of volunteers, some of whom are with us tonight. And it's, volunteers that each candidate has that helps you run an effective campaign and be impossible to do without their help, guidance, and assistance. I also want to say a few words, and they're here tonight, about the retiring members of council. Jan Vanderstel, John Utley, actually, I don't think he's here tonight, Cheryl Antosky, and Joshua Wall. I'm sorry to see them go, but I do so with the thanks for their tireless service. Brantford is a better place because they cared. Thank you. I also want to welcome the 4 new members of council, Michael Sullivan, Gino Caputo, Linda Hunt, and Mandy Samwell. Our council will be reinvigorated by their presence. They'll bring new ideas, a new spark to council, and that'll help us, I'm sure, reach our shared goals and perhaps find new and innovative ways to do so. I think it's worth noting that we now have 3 women on council, and that's the first time that in the history of this city that has happened. It's a great thing. It's one more step towards our council better reflecting the diversity of our community. Each member of council, new or returning, comes to council with ideas about how to improve our community. It's important that we work together to craft a common vision of council's goals for the next term. It helps keep us focused as we make our decisions, but perhaps more importantly, it gives our city staff clarity about the things that we want them to focus on. So I'm proposing that in the very new year, we meet to discuss our ideas on what we want over the next 4 years and to develop, I'm hoping, a common list of common goals and priorities that will guide the city into the future. And all of us have just spent months, many long hours, knocking on doors, talking to residents about the things that trouble them, as well as their hopes for our city. We all heard about the concern regarding very troubling issues of homelessness, substance abuse, mental health, and crime, particularly in the downtown. These are not simple issues to deal with. They're not just Brantford issues. Cities across the country, across the world, are dealing with many of the same problems. And during the last term of council, we started several programs designed to deal with these issues and, more importantly, to help those who need it most. We reinvigorated the community drug strategy. The Brantford Downtown Outreach Team, with the help of the St. Leonard's Community Association, is helping the homeless find shelter and, find shelter and those who abuse substances to get help. We now have a residential detox program, and the Police Service Mobile Crisis Rapid Response Team pairs police officers and mental health specialists to respond to 911 calls. We've tackled safety concerns by funding a downtown police beat patrol 24/7. We've added 8 special constables to staff that unit. We've also put in place a mobile private security patrol to better monitor and control the activities on city-owned properties. And an important piece of this puzzle is having more affordable housing. During the last term, we worked with the County of Brant to develop a program to build 500 new rent-geared income affordable housing units over the next 10 years. And there are visible signs of progress to achieve the results of that plan. A transitional housing project on Marlene Ave gives formerly homeless people a place to live and the help they need to become self-reliant. A new development on Colburn Street West is weeks away from being completed. Next year, we begin work on the next affordable housing project, Trillium Way in Paris, followed by a family-focused development right here in the downtown using the Lucy Marco Student Residence Building that the city just purchased from Laurier Brantford. And that'll be followed by a large housing project development on Shellard Lane. You know, prevention's important too, and we intend to expand programming in our community centers targeted at helping teens become more adaptable, stronger, and more resilient so they're tempted not to use drugs. For all we're doing, there is more we can do. We must be creative and compassionate in developing solutions that work. You know, I've worked downtown for more than 40 years, and I've been, as many of us, quite concerned about the deterioration we've seen in recent years. And during the last term of council, we made a fair bit of progress to restore the downtown to its rightful place as the heart of our city. We set up a downtown task force about 18 months ago to give us a roadmap to a better downtown. You know, we made a lot of progress in the last term. I've already discussed some of the steps we've taken in the downtown to make it safer and help those who need it. But we're also making the downtown more vital. Now that COVID has ebbed, you're seeing a return of community events in Harmony Square, concerts, movies, flag raising, roller skating, and more. The Sanderson Center is now back to a full program. And Lori is running more events for students in the core, as is our library. As we continue with those efforts, we're moving ahead with plans to have more people live in the downtown. New apartment buildings are already planned. More than 2,000 units have been approved. Many of them will be located in the greater downtown area. And in the term of this council, we will soon begin working on a $25 million project to upgrade the underground services under Colburn and Dalhousie streets to support buildings in the downtown that are 8, 10, or more stories tall, providing homes to thousands of people in our city core. Another great concern has been the cost of housing, how it's soaring, and it's a concern shared by most people in our city. Young families worry if they'll ever get their own place. Their parents want to help, but many times they don't have the resources. Through all that, though, Brantford is a particularly attractive place to live. However, the supply of housing units is not meeting the demand. When that happens, purchase prices go up and rents go up as well. And we clearly need tens of thousands of new housing units to help keep up with the growth we face being part of one of the fastest growing regions in North America. If we build enough units, I'm optimistic we'll bend that curve on rents and housing prices. And we also are doing infilling, which is building new housing units, townhouses and apartments on service lands inside the current city boundaries. It's cost effective, it's faster, and often involves repurposing vacant and derelict lands. There are thousands of those units in the pipeline, and fortunately, many of them are rental units, and that's due in part to the city offering tax incentives to spur new rental construction. Then a big part of our future is the expansion lands, that area north of Powerline Road that the city annexed from Brant County. Someday, it will be home to 40,000 people and almost 20,000 jobs. And a lot of the groundwork for the development of this area was accomplished in this last term of council. And in the next term of council, the city will begin installing the sewer and water lines to develop this area. The landowners are currently working with city staff to plan the new neighborhoods, and we'll soon see where the roads, the homes, the business parks, and other facilities will be located. By the end of this term, I'm confident we'll see shovels in the ground and new buildings being constructed in the expansion lands. However, there is also another problem, and that is as the city has grown, so have traffic problems, particularly in the city center. People trying to get from West Brant to work or shop east of the Grand River, they run into bottlenecks on the Lorne Bridge, Brant Ave, and the Colburn, Clarence, Dalhousie intersections. And you know what? It's only going to get worse. And during the last term of council, we made some tough decisions about the future of our road network. Plans that were drafted decades ago, such as the BSER and the Oak Park Road extension, were explored and ultimately eliminated as no longer being suitable or feasible. So now we know what the community would prefer us not to do. The challenge for the new council is to figure out what we are going to do. And it'll take a focused effort on the part of citizens, council members, and city staff to find those solutions. And it'll also mean working with our neighbors, especially the County of Brant, to develop a regional transportation plan that addresses traffic issues in both communities. Combined with that, all that growth means that we need to take a fresh look at our transit system. Riders are frustrated that it can take an hour to get from one side of the city to the other, from where they live to where their jobs are. And the coming growth in the expansion lands, it'll only make that much worse. This council needs to consider developing a secondary transit transfer terminal in the north end so we can develop east-west routes that get people where they want to go faster. And on the topic of traffic, a lot of people don't like what they're hearing and seeing on the streets. They're concerned about speeding, traffic violations, and vehicle noise. In the next year, we'll roll out some high-tech solutions to help us with this problem. The city has already begun installing red light cameras at busy intersections. We're also looking at automated speed enforcement for next summer. And right now, city staff are looking at the best place to put those units before they're installed next year. Voters also told us they want a greener city. And during the last term of council, we declared a climate emergency. Council committed to do more than just pass a resolution. We decided to embody the intent of that resolution in all of our decision-making. First, we're electrifying the city's vehicle fleet. We're already purchasing electric cars. Pickup trucks and buses are next on the list. New buildings will be energy efficient, starting with the expansion of the police station. We're adding more bike lanes through the city. They're not always popular, but as more residents adopt alternative modes of travel from bikes to scooters, we're going to need them even more. The new green bin program will divert more waste into recycling, reducing the amount that goes to our landfill. And our new planning rules will protect natural areas and underground water aquifers. So we must continue to ensure that our practices, our plans, and our projects mitigate potential environmental and climate impact. But residents also want a healthier Brantford. And the best piece of good news in the last years came this past March when the Ontario government announced its commitment to rebuilding the Brantford General Hospital. And that's going to be a massive undertaking. It'll take up to a decade and cost as much as $1.5 billion. It's the policy of the provincial government that the community must contribute 10% of that cost and pay 100% of the furniture and new equipment going into the new hospital. And that means over the next decade, the greater regional community, not just City of Brantford, must raise at least $150 million, more likely closer to $200 million. Now, the Brant Community Healthcare Foundation, they'll lead the charge, but this has to be a community-wide effort involving residents, businesses, service clubs, charities, and others. The city must play a leading role by first developing a plan on how the city can make a major contribution to the campaign, and second, by being an active supporter of the campaign. It will not be easy. That's a lot of money, but I know we can do it because whenever our community has faced these kinds of challenges that define us, we've risen to the occasion. And so when that new BGH arises in the present location, we'll finally have the hospital that we need and deserve. Now, Southwest Community, Shellard Lane, Ward 1. You know, we often say that Brantford's a great place to work and play, but for residents of Southwest Brantford, they've been on the short end of the stick when it comes to the play part. And that's even though the area has about 1/5, almost 1/4 of the residents of Brantford live in that area. And it's short on amenities for that part of our population. That's why it's important we push ahead with the plans for the Southwest Community Center and Park. This new facility will have a community center, a library, a gymnasium, multi-purpose rooms for shared use with a new elementary school, not to mention additional playing fields, including a much-needed cricket ground. But there's been talk about this for decades. It's up to this council to begin the process, get shovels in the ground, and see that facility being developed. Finally, I want to discuss partnerships and the relationship with our most important partners, the County of Brant, Six Nations of the Grand River, and Mississaugas of the Credit. Don't worry, I'm getting to the end. During the past 4 years, we've established a stronger, more productive relationship with the county, and that's already paying dividends. We have a joint affordable housing program that we developed with them, and we have a new process for how we manage social services. During the next term, we intend to build on that by exploring other areas of shared interest with the county. We need a regional transportation plan. We should talk about ways how to maximize the return that both municipalities receive from the Brantford Airport. We can talk about creative ways to work together on sewer and water services, landfill operations, transit, and other topics to find ways to offer better services and control costs. Building a better relationship with Indigenous nations has been an important priority of the past council. We've been looking for nuts and bolts projects and programs where we can advance mutual interests. We hope that as we improve the working relationship, we can also improve the consultation process and promote reconciliation. Staff have worked with First Nations to develop lasting, meaningful connections based on reconciliation and mutual prosperity. There's also a big question that hangs over all of us: land claims. What can the city of Brantford do as an ally of Six Nations to help them resolve those claims? It's an unresolved source of tension between Indigenous people and other residents of the Haldeman Tract lands. Our council has been advocating on behalf of Six Nations, urging the federal and provincial governments to get this resolved as soon as possible. I'm confident this council will continue to work alongside Six Nations to help push this issue to a conclusion. So in conclusion, I note though that our community, like many others across Canada, is divided. COVID has divided us. Issues have separated us. Family and neighbors have sometimes turned on one another. We feel divided. I believe we have a duty as a council to do our utmost not to exacerbate those divisions. Instead, we should focus on how we can achieve common goals in the best interest of our community. We must be respectful of each other's uniqueness, different perspectives, different opinions. But at the same time, we should not let those differences hinder our ability to best serve our community. I'm optimistic, I'm hopeful, I'm confident that our community and this elected council can achieve that. You know, as I mentioned at the start of this speech, City Council and staff over the last 4 years spent a lot of time building a foundation for the future. I'm confident we're going to see a growing city with new opportunities for employment, attainable housing, education, retail, entertainment, transportation, and more. You know, we're going to face those challenges, those differences, as we have in the past. We'll adapt, we'll learn, and we'll make the best of the opportunities that are there for our community. But unfortunately, growth means change, and change can be hard. It will be important then that as a council, we communicate why change and growth is necessary and how we can best manage it, adapt to it, so we can reap the benefits of that growth while at the same time maintaining what it is we love about our city. You know, we've had some difficult years, but a foundation has been laid for future success. Now we must move forward from that foundation, focus on the future with optimism and a passion to seize the opportunities that are coming our way. Thank you. Councillor Martin, I understand you have the traditional resolution to formally receive the inaugural address.
I do. Thank you. I, Greg Martin, move, seconded by Councillor Dan McCurry, that the inaugural address of His Worship Mayor Kevin Davis be received, and B, the congratulations of this council be expressed to Mayor Davis for his thoughtful and carefully prepared address, and C, that the mayor's inaugural address be forwarded to all department heads of the city administration, the mayor and council of the county of Brant, the chief and council of Six Nations of the Grand River, the chief and council of Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations, the Brantford Brant Member of Parliament, the Brantford Brant Member of Provincial Parliament, to all city boards and advisory committees, and posted on the city's website.
Thank you. Any discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, I will call the vote. We don't have e-scribe tonight, but I'll call the vote by a show of hands. Mr. Deputy Clerk.
All those in favor? Motion carries.
So we'll now proceed to bylaws, and I'll ask Councillor Sluss if you could please, I'm used to looking at the left. Now I have to look to the right. If you could move first and second reading of the bylaws.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself, seconded by my ward mate, Councillor Gino Caputo. That leave be given to the mover and seconder to introduce the following bylaws for first and second reading, namely bylaw 163-2022 being a bylaw to appoint members of council to act from time to time in the place and stead of head of council. And bylaw 164-2022 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the corporation of the city of Brantford with respect to the inaugural meeting held on November 15th, 2022.
Thank you. Does anybody wish the bylaws separated for discussion purposes? Seeing no, request for separation for discussion. I'll now, Mr. Deputy Clerk, if you would take the vote on first and second reading of the bylaws.
All those in favor of the first and second reading of all bylaws? All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. I'll now call upon Councillor McCreary to move third reading of the bylaws.
Mayor, thank you. I'm pleased to be bringing the third reading, seconded by my friend and ward mate, Greg Martin. Reads as follows: that all bylaws having received a first and second reading be taken as read a third time and be finally passed and signed by mayor and clerk.
Thank you. Does anybody want any of the two bylaws separated for discussion purposes? Seeing no such request, Mr. Deputy Clerk, would you please take the vote?
All those in favor for the third and final reading of all bylaws, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Motion carries.
So to conclude this evening, I would once again like to thank the Mr. Justice Broad for coming out and officiating tonight. That was, thank you very much for doing that. I know you have a very busy schedule. And I'd also going to call upon to bring this meeting to an end. Amos Key Jr., if you would give us the final closing Thanksgiving address, please.
Okay, I would just like to congratulate the new city council and all the families that attended tonight. Having delved into my own council at Six Nations for a couple of terms, it's a lot of work. So I just like to thank you all for lending your names forward, and to all the families. I know it takes a lot of work and a lot of meetings, sometimes late night meetings. So I'd like to thank and congratulate them all. So I'd like to just close the meeting with a few words in my language. I speak the Kigo language, and it's a language that was my first language. And somehow I learned English through school. And I'm here today I'm honored to be here, as a matter of fact, being a neighbor of the city of Brantford. And I see it growing and growing and growing from my neck of the woods down on Mohawk Street. Lots of development and lots of great neighbors there. So I'd just like to thank you all for attending, and I'll thank the Creator for bringing our hearts together and championing our hopes. You know, when you look at it gets kind of, it goes to your heart sometimes when you watch what's happening around the world. I just seen an episode on the news this morning about Somalia. Do you think about the devastation there with not having rain for 2 years, how that can change a whole community and a whole country? So we give our blessings for where we are in this part of the world, and that we all are here from different nationalities, trying to do our best. And what I like to say is to help Canada become more civilized. We all have a part to play. And I'll thank the Creator for doing that, for bringing our hearts together to begin this work, to allow this country over its last 150 years dealing with Indigenous people to become more civilized in that regard. So I want to thank the Creator, and I want to thank the City Council for being such great neighbors to Six Nations and to the New Credit First Nation. And I think we're going to grow stronger in the next decade or so. And with this new aspiration, hopefully it's not just an aspiration, it's going to be something we're going to actually commit to as citizens of this province and of this country and of this Grand River. So I'll thank the Creator for bringing our hearts together and releasing our minds, and as we celebrate this new council. Kau senyo di wat kawanyo wat kasongo ni na wasun di ni na wa negwaga ni na the swearing in ni na kagyukwai ni City Council, the City of Brantford. Kau gon hen wai hua can to ni dan to tesa ko kai ko din ko no hanyo. Ni di always such cannot to not to ni di ne dwe hek I ha Scott and wine go ni go ha. Scott that what no hanyo you can your tongue go ni go ha. And down and about chui when doing how to not touch negasa now when and hate needing go good to know on you need can your tongue go and go home. And down and about chui said go on your scania die or you want to what's up. Nick scan he went short in yogi. Needing go to den hono. Said go on your scania die on again your tongue go and go home. So and down and about chui gain you good dog head to hear you know. Didn't you took it again to don't get Nanto when's a day. Needing go and did one home you. Gain you could dog to hear you know, the yoki and your door, again your tongue, I'm going to go on so. And down and watch chewy, how much it now with some way diesel. Nate Santo Santo Scano, I don't know, Daniel. Nate eating greater than home, how get to now with some way diesel, and again your tongue, going to go on. And down it only got going to eat hatka get to Kanohano, agree Huaneki, don't the song Katan, he netted, gain you good dog to hear no. Hono, San Hong was quoting you. And I've added at the end that I hope our love and the love of our angels, the love of the four beings we say in our language will hold our hands and get us home safely tonight to our loved ones. And don't forget, our children are precious. Please give them a hug tonight. Yamako, thank you very much.
Amos, you can't sit down just yet. I just wanted to thank Amos very much. I have, I'd say a long history, but Amos Key was for a period of time the interim director of the Woodland Cultural Center. That was about 5 or 6 years ago. And at that time, I came to know him through president of the local Rotary Club. And we actually toured the former Mohawk Residential School. And I'll say this, Amos, that
your very kind, intelligent, compassionate manner certainly helped myself and my fellow Rotarians on a path down to reconciliation, accommodation, understanding. And I thank you very much for beginning that path for myself and many others in our community that hopefully will continue into the future. And thanking you this evening for providing us with the Thanksgiving and blessing. I have the traditional gift of a ceremonial tobacco.
With that, I'd like to thank everybody who came out tonight to witness this very important occasion as the inaugural meeting. And I'll hereby declare that this meeting's adjourned.